the deputy mayor. And I'm just going to ask Dan to say a few words. Everybody knows about it.
He can't hear what that thing
Just we gotta turn it off.
Okay,
I think we gotta turn it off.
Please turn it
I
off.
heard Dan, that's it.
Well, it's, the first thing is deputy mayor, and if you want to say a few words, so.
Sure.
probably.
As I emailed to everybody over the weekend and at work today, the deputy mayor position is something that's contemplated in the New York State Village Law, also the Fredonia Village Charter. It doesn't call it a deputy mayor position in the charter, but it has the same function, taking the position of the mayor, the duties of the mayor in the mayor's absence. And so I thought it was appropriate, and it will cause some confusion, but I did think it was appropriate to put both of those things in this resolution. We are following the charter in that the charter differs from New York State Village Law in that it has the board by resolution selecting the individual from the trustees who will function as the deputy mayor. Does anybody have any questions? I think we've...
I do, it just seems kind of confusing to put both of those in there. I mean, either,
You know, and I thought I addressed that, but
I mean,
that's why I wanted a chance to explain.
okay, it seems like either the mayor is empowered to do it by the New York State Village Law, or the trustees are empowered to do it by our charter.
Well,
I mean, it's-
couple issues, okay? First of all, there's nothing in the charter that says who makes the suggestion, okay? Who suggests who that individual might be. In this case, the mayor made the suggestion.
Or the recommendation.
Recommendation, sure. And I think that recommendation is covered by that. Again, we're trying to interpret two laws so that they both peacefully coexist together, and that's the best take I could make of it.
And also, Jim, the mayor has asked that you be appointed. Could you tell us some of your qualifications for being deputy mayor?
In the absence of the mayor, I'll be performing the duties of the position as necessary.
Do you have any managing qualification
Being
or
on the board
background
as
or
long
anything?
as long as the mayor and as qualified as any other person on this board.
Can I say just the main thing that the deputy mayor is going to do is not only this has been addressed by the board, by the charter, is declaring a state of emergency. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the board cannot by resolution declare a state of emergency. That's an executive power. That's the only thing really. That's end of it. Everything else goes through the board the way it regularly goes. But in the absence of the mayor, if there is an emergency and they have to call the state, that's only the mayor or the deputy mayor who can do it. So it's a really simple thing. I mean, we're not giving power to anybody. It's just the assurance that the village, if there is a state of emergency, somebody can declare it. That's all.
Can I add a question, a comment here? In emergencies, the mayor is responsible for addressing the press, both the print press and audio press. And so that the ability to present and organize, certainly would be a very important aspect of the deputy mayor's position.
I agree.
Okay.
I didn't think of that. Yes, of course. I do.
I'd like that. I'd like to actually be considered by the board as well, because I feel I also possess qualifications in a situation where you declare a state of emergency would be some kind of natural disaster or major problem. I'm FEMA certified, ICS 100 and 700. This is certification that first responders and management should possess as a minimum requirement. Usually school systems and municipalities have their members have this. I have New York State intro to fire officer preparing for command. I have 28 years of public service in the fire service and command positions in the ranks of lieutenant, captain, and third assistant chief. I have various knowledge of the village departments and their staff, knowledge of surrounding community leaders, supervisors, school officials, and persons of important positions to be able to handle situations where the knowledge, education, and experience matter to take care of situations at hand. I have experience in the police field. I have a criminal justice degree, graduated from the Sheriff's Academy in 1987, and I have worked part-time as deputy sheriff with the Sheriff's Office from 1989 to 91. I have also municipal training, Southern Tier, local government conference training, and municipal law seminar training. So I would also like to be considered. I feel that I could also help in a situation where we have a major problem going on.
You
Thank
certainly
you.
can, but is this an election? I mean, I wonder.
No, it isn't, but I just wanted to let everybody know that there's more
But
than
I
one
can
person.
make the
qualified.
recommendation. We,
Well, absolutely. I just want to put, that's it. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
okay. All right, so if we're done with that, let's go to meeting procedures. Everybody else is all right? Yes? Well,
I think, each member of the trustees, has credentials that they can present. So,
I agree, and
but, I think we need to look at the political realities of the situation. The majority party typically selects representative officers, and I think, that's we need to face this reality here. So, without demeaning your credentials, whatsoever, but you're not in the political majority on this board of trustees.
I didn't know in a case of a disaster, it was a political affiliation that was able to handle that. But thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
okay, anything else? Yes, no?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right, let's go to meeting procedures. I put this in because we were discussing with Dan, and there is a reality here that Jim brought to our attention as well. We have a deadline of 1 o'clock on Wednesday, but in every possibility, there may be one trustee who calls in 12:45 to have a resolution in. There's no way from 12:45 to 1 o'clock that Dan is going to take that, get that, write a correct resolution, go back to me or Rick, find sponsors, and then go to Lori and print everything and write everything to send to all the board. Because since you have every possibility to present your resolutions to 1 o'clock, really, you can really present it at 12:59. So we don't give anybody the time from that point to put the resolution together, find sponsors, give it to the clerk or Lori, and be actually part of the agenda. So I thought we should discuss this a little bit. You should discuss it.
Mayor, I believe, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, you already have that covered under the meeting procedures. If it's beyond that 1 o'clock time, you have to have 2 trustees.
That's not what she's saying. What the problem is?
I get what she's saying, but I mean, if after that amount, then you'd have the 2 trustees, one person sponsoring it and a person seconding it?
Right, but the idea was to try to avoid.
Yes, I get
You know,
that.
to try to avoid the last minute thing that we were, struggling with. And, I kind of arbitrarily picked 1 o'clock, figuring, okay, if everything was done by 1 o'clock, we could get it to Lori, and that would give her plenty of time before she went home to put everything in everybody's email. It's not working quite that way. It's not. Like, for example, this last Wednesday, I was tied up in court all morning. I didn't get out until a little after noon. There was a resolution to address, big scramble, trying to get everything done. Basically, I would offer, maybe you guys could pick 2 times. This is the time for the resolutions to be presented, this is the deadline for that, and this is the time for them to be to Lori. I don't have any problem, cordoning off a piece of Wednesday to get those things done. It's just the timing is becoming really problematic for everybody, and by the time I get them to the mayor, for her to get sponsors, it's very hectic.
Would it be better earlier in the day or the day before? I'm not sure what,
I thought that
What we're looking at here.
the Wednesday thing was seemed to be agreeable to everybody.
Mhm.
But allowing that the request to have resolutions by that one particular person, or it would be by the end of the day on Wednesday. But it wouldn't have to be put into any kind of form, have you put it into the resolution form, or even directly to the trustees until a little bit later in the week, or it would be Friday. I know sometimes it's even here on Mondays, but I know that at least that there would be no new things added after Wednesday. I would think that there would be
Unless there is
Lori
a
needs time to
resolution.
put things together.
By two people.
And so do you. So, that's the reality. So, but at least if we had a deadline for the time of when we're requesting something to be on the agenda. And you're right, Doug, as far as the one person by the end of the day on Wednesday, and after Wednesday, then there could be two people. I don't know, that seemed to work.
Well, that's the resolution.
Right.
That's the resolution.
Yeah,
What
there
what
was-
time period were you thinking of? that
Well,
you
I
need?
mean, I think it would probably be more productive if we said something like, okay, Wednesday at 1 o'clock is the deadline to present anything. Give me till, the next day or whatever to draft everything up, get it over to Lori, and have her have till, Thursday afternoon to close of business to get the agendas out. Would that be acceptable to everybody?
I think so.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. Right.
Yeah.
If that's it, give it a go.
So we
See
have
how
to-
it works.
Yeah, we don't want to make things harder for
Resolution.
people. We want to
Yeah,
make
I'll
it run more
pass on the
smoothly.
resolutions
Yeah.
amending that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just we're all on the same page, we're going to say all resolutions sponsored by 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and then the prepped and formatted,
Close of business on Thursday,
so Lori close of business Thursday?
Mhm.
if that works for her. Will that work for her?
Yeah, I also,
Just to make it easier, for,
yeah,
it's- everybody's
seems like we make it
reasonable
easier on
time.
everybody.
I'm okay with that.
Well, then I'll prepare a resolution for the next meeting, amending the resolution procedure.
Sure. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else about that? Okay. So we'll go to new business. We have the building inspector's report for May 2018, which is a very nice number. I liked it. Yes, I love it.
Me.
Nice number. Now, we seem to have quite a few problems, if you're okay with that, and go to number 2, which is speed limit signage on Powell Avenue. I have a lot of complaints lately for traffic issues. And I had a couple of discussions with Brad and with some people that will come to the office to discuss some things. But lately, in the last probably month, there's this lady from Carroll Avenue who contacted me to tell me that people are speeding on Carroll Avenue. And then she requested, if possible, to put a speed limit sign there. I understand that 2 days ago, actually, I got a message, a little dog was killed there. So her concern was that that little dog could have been a kid. So I hear different stories from different people, but my thinking was that maybe if you are okay with it, we can put a speed limit signage there to see if it is going to work. We discussed with Brad the possibility of putting a speed bump. Apparently, we can only put a non-permanent one.
How fast are people going? I mean, it's Carroll Avenue. It's not like you can't. It's like there's no
I know,
through
but
traffic.
I
It's
have
like,
quite a few complaints.
yeah, no, I'm not saying they're not speeding, but it's like, they don't know that its speed limit is 30 miles an hour.
Oh, of course they do.
Well, 30 on a street like that seems like fast.
Yes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
maybe-
Especially when there's little
People, When
kids.
you're walking on that street.
Right.
And even somebody doing 30 seems like they're
Fast.
doing.
And maybe
really
that's
not
one of
fast.
the things we would discuss with that.
Maybe the children, like children at play type sign.
Well,
Can we
the
do
children
those?
at play, we discussed that too, and he suggested he is against that. because the research said that they don't work
No.
for two reasons. First, that people pretty soon forget about them and they ignore them. And second, they give a false sense of security and safety to the people who have children there.
Well,
I have not read the research, but this is what,
I mean, people ignore speed limit signs too.
that's true.
Right, unfortunately.
That's true. But I don't know what else to propose, and Brad is going to enforce a little more, make a little more enforcement of speed limit, and we'll see what happens. But if you're okay with that, I think it's not an unreasonable request.
No, absolutely, it makes sense. Put the speed limit sign up there and then do random speed enforcement. We are getting a new trailer. Dan just asked me if we had a
It's
speed.
almost here, he said.
Would that include that, a speed radar part
Yes,
of it?
yes, absolutely,
So-
Well,
yes.
they could put that for a while there, that would.
Yes.
that would-
And I'm on Water Street too, that might
And on
help
Water
calm
Street.
traffic there as well.
Yes, yes.
Well,
And
once
by
they
the
get
way, we
stripes back
cannot
on it, it'll-
lower the speed limit below
Part of it is it's
30
so
miles per
smooth
hour.
now.
The state will not allow it. So you're right, 30 miles on Carl Avenue seems a lot if you go down 30 miles, but they do not allow to go lower than that. I mean, if you have any other ideas, please,
Isn't Carroll Avenue a
No.
dead end?
can't,
Yes, it is.
can't. It has to have a
Who's speeding?
school. And there's
not
no
a
school
drive-through.
there.
There's nobody resident.
If you have any other suggestions, please. Also, there is, in the same thing, it's not included here, but other complaints are about stop signs. People drive through stop signs, they don't stop at stop signs. And the chief believes that some of the stop signs should be removed because they don't make any sense, and people take that under their mind and just go through them. I don't know what else.
Well, that might be true, but wouldn't we have to do like a traffic study?
Well, one of the intersections that people are talking about is the one on Eagle Street, okay?
Eagle and Orchard.
Right,
Yep.
Eagle and Orchard, and maybe the one on Eagle doesn't make any sense. I
Just
mean,
the
every
one
time I drive through it, doesn't
Right.
make sense to me. Orchard definitely does. But just putting it out there. Because of course, everybody can understand that we can't put a police officer by every stop sign in the village, or every traffic light, or that's impossible. We're gonna do some random checking.
Although the stop sign on Eagle Street probably stops people from speeding all the way down Eagle.
That's the idea, of course, that's the
Oh,
idea
right.
that,
And
they
then
will-
you end up with a speed
that's the idea,
problem.
right, that's the idea, that,
Yeah.
and some of the stop signs are just for that.
Sort of like the stop sign at Chestnut and
Yeah.
Right,
Gardner,
up
but
the
it does
hill.
have people,
I remember when there didn't used to be one there on the
There's a
hill,
light.
right?
There was a light
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Well,
that's right.
But
There was a
people
flashing
coming up,
light.
Risley
Right.
didn't have to stop.
that's correct,
It
there was
was
a
a-
flashing light there,
yeah.
yellow, coming up Risley, and I
Right.
think maybe Gardner at some time.
Okay, well, I'm just putting it out there, please think about it. If you're okay, we can put the sign on Carroll Avenue, how we can go about doing that?
Doug puts it on there.
Okay, can you
Yeah.
tell
Call him in the
to
morning.
please, okay, great, thank you, very good. All right, and then we go to the CFA for the West Municipal Parking Lot. Apparently, you know by now that we cannot, although the situation at the parking lots is extremely bad, unfortunately, we don't have time and probably not even the means to apply for a CFA. However, we still plan to do a design and a cost estimation, either in-house, if we can do it with an aid, or possibly issue an RFP, which would be a good idea, I think, at some point to do that, so we're ready for next year. Or if we get the DRI, at least to have a cost estimate written someplace, because otherwise they won't even entertain the idea. So that's my,
Mayor, comment on that? I mean, these are absolutely great projects. I hope that everybody read Rick's assessment of our financial ability. It's just that we need to make sure that we don't over leverage and prioritize what we really need to do, because it's going to be real easy to get into a real bind here, just so, I mean, we're all aware of that. I mean, we could, I think that CFA said a maximum of 90% reimbursement, but I talked to Nate, and it could be anywhere between 70 and 90. So, I mean, so things do matter, and you have to bond things completely up front. So, you know, the way the state would reimburse you is probably as slow as they could reimburse you. So, I mean, these are,
it's about 3 months, but still you have to start. You have to bond the
Absolutely.
whole amount.
and I know they pick through to make sure you do the minority and women's percentage, and, you know, everything's covered to a T, so.
I mean, it's good on the part of the state to do that, because they safeguard taxpayers' money. It's not good for them to give anybody a blank check and with the money. So, but I appreciate what you say. I think you're right. I would strongly suggest that the board at some point considers and approves to do a plan for design and cost, so we know exactly where we are, maybe for next year. So.
I'll take a resolution to approve the
Design or whatever.
design and cost.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from what you said, that's going to be essential in order to even apply next year.
That's right.
So
Yes.
in order to have this, but in order to do that, we need to actually put in effect and take action on getting this portion done, having that cost assessment in the design and engineering. So,
And there is a possibility, Nate is talking to
not
some
waiting until the
people,
last minute again.
that they will do it for free. But that's only a possibility. I'm not sure, he's not sure, so.
Is that something that Nate would be working on with us as well?
Nate would, but he has a lot of work to do.
I know.
So if he needs to get an assistant, or if he needs to get somebody to help, that person will have to be paid. Or if we are able to do it, free of charge, then probably would be a good idea to put out an RFP and get a more complete picture with more complete cost estimate to have it ready for next year.
Stay on top of that then.
All right, so that's about it. Let's go to review resolutions. We have a request from Fredonia Chamber to use West Park Common during music in the park, Wednesday, July the 27th, 2018, and Wednesday, August the 22nd, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Mayor Land, just to clarify, that Wednesday is the 25th, not the 27th. The 27th would be a Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just,
Okay.
I noticed
Thank
that
you.
looking at the resolution on email.
Yes, thank you very much. Sure. Then we have a bond resolution for cardiac monitors. I have a bond resolution for 5 radios. A seasonal laborer hire.
The use of village trolley is not ready for a resolution at this time.
Okay.
Then we'll have to just cancel that because that event is prior to any next meeting.
That reunion.
That reunion, yeah, it takes place on the 20th, I think.
On the what? When is the?
Oh, on
The-
the 20th,
the class of
on the 20th
58.
of July.
So it's still not, it's not in use at all?
20th.
Currently?
Yeah, July 20th.
It has been.
Okay, I was just curious.
It was in this weekend.
Oh,
Even if
was
they
it for the
provide all
Italian festival?
information they
Yeah,
need.
yesterday.
at least
Yeah, they
still-
did provide. What
But I'm
they
just
pro-
saying,
What they provided was, is they're saying that they would have a driver that's qualified, in other words, a CDL or
Mhm.
the right licensing. And, you know, the licensing, the number of people on there at one time depends on the license of the driver. So they would keep it within that, they would adhere to those regulations. They would give the village an
Certificate.
insurance policy, our $1 million, which we normally request. They agreed to pay a flat fee for the use of it for that
Oh.
hour and a half, or $100. And what's his name, I guess, would be the driver, right, Roger?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Well, they gave, Gugino is,
No,
according to
Gugino
Kirk
or
Gugino,
Tony
and
No, it's Jim Gugino.
we would use Anthony Battaglia or Kirk Gugino as our certified driver.
Kirk Gugino
For the
is his
driver,
son.
yeah, okay. No, I
Right.
was talking about the guy that's the
Yes,
historian
Jim.
that would ride along with them.
Oh, Todd Langworthy,
Todd Langworthy,
yeah.
is that right?
Is our
Go
village
with them
historian.
and-
The trolley's unique. All they're just saying is they just kind of want to joyride through the village, and they're providing.
Right,
one
so
of
can
their
they
own-
still do
That's really
that?
all they want to do.
Can they
I
do
mean,
that
it's-
if we don't have the,
Well, here's my proposal. I mean, obviously, if we can't have them in our trolley, right now, I'm driving the trolley. I would be more than happy to take them around, if that's okay with the rest of the board. And if this, would allow them to use our vehicle for that time, I have no problem.
yeah, I'd like to allow them to use it if possible. I feel like we don't use it enough.
Well, we're working on it.
I know, I get that, but, I'd like to encourage people to.
But I'm just saying, if we cancel this event for them, I think as an alternative, as a driver, I would be happy to drive them around, if that's a solution to this.
I don't know, that's what I'm wondering.
You guys can grant their request without adopting an official trolley policy.
Okay, that's what I'm, that's
Yeah,
what I
that's
just wanted.
kind of where I was
You don't
going
need
with
to-
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't need to tell these people we can't cancel the event. We're
Okay.
just trying to work up a policy so that in the future, there's some continuity.
Right.
And we've got all our bases covered, but for this time, yeah, I mean, whatever you guys will agree to, as long as the insurance is provided, there's always liability, but I think it's managed.
Okay, good,
So we need to read the resolution
as written.
as written.
Okay, that'll work. Thank you, Roger.
Sure.
Well, but if they're certified, they can drive it too, right?
That's.
I mean, they
Well,
can provide their own
right now,
driver
the
as
trial-
long as they're certified.
But
What
as long as
what
you-
our understanding is, I mean, right now, your driver's license is based on the number of passengers allowed on the vehicle. If you have a commercial driver's
Right.
license with a passenger endorsement, we're allowed to have more people on
Right,
it.
well, it says that they're certified, that's why I was
But
just
we don't
wondering.
know if they're CDL certified, if they're just passenger endorsed certified. I mean, you're talking a class of 58? I think total, they were saying, 8 or 10 people are gonna be showing up. So I think it falls within the range of how many passengers are allowed in the vehicle with the current license,
Right,
I believe they would be fine, and if we need the police chief to run a check on his license, we can do that. It's not a big deal.
But if you're proposing to do it, then
yeah, I think that. we
if
should-
you're proposing to do it.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, I'd like them to do this.
Yeah, oh,
And if
absolutely,
they
yeah, I
can't,
understand.
if something
can't find
stalls
somebody
into some
else,
way, I'd be more
then
than
you
happy
can-
to
yeah,
drive them around.
and
It's
that's-
not
It's
a,
nice.
in fact, I enjoyed it the other day.
Okay. Maybe you should take all of us.
No, we need to do that.
I need a hat.
Yeah, another one.
All right, so are we going to need to pass a resolution for that?
Well, that is in here.
It's already in
Yeah,
here.
it's in there.
It's already in the
And we can
packet.
put the
Oh,
resolution
Okay, I'm sorry,
as-
okay. Oh, that's the one, okay, very good. And then Deputy Mayor again.
I just have one comment on this deputy mayor, and I'm a little offended with trustee Barris's comment. I just want to know if the rest of the trustees feel the same way that trustee Barris does
What is my comment? I've made many.
regarding the political affiliation that's involved with this position.
Yeah. I think, normally in a municipal organization or a state organization or a federal organization, typically the prime positions are offered to the members of the majority party. Certainly in the House, the House leader is, in the House of Representatives, is picked from the majority party. So, it just is a political reality.
My question is to the rest of the board. I
United
mean,
States
obviously, the
governmental
political party,
organization.
Kara, is this something that you feel strongly agree with Dr. Barris and
I don't
Trustee
really
Barris?
care to comment. I don't have a,
Okay. All right,
you know,
just-
I don't,
But I have to tell you that I did not choose the person based on the party. I chose seniority and the way I work with the specific person. That's to me, if I'm, let's say, in Florida, which I'm not going to be, but if I am there and something happens and I have to call somebody and I ask, please do that for me, that's all that matters. And the seniority mattered also, to be honest.
I mean, I
Yeah.
specifically asked a question,
Yeah.
and my answer was,
So that the board can answer for themselves.
yeah, thank you.
We're done? Okay, we have an executive, and we have about 15 minutes. Is there anything
Go
more
now?
that I want to talk about?
Yeah, you want to go into executive session?
Yeah.
okay, I hereby make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss employment history of a specific employee.
I second that motion.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order. At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 9th day of July 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Trustees' Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law. Reports.
We have a building inspector's report for the month of May 2018. Total amount of fees collected, $15,145. Permit fees, $5,815. Rental fees, $8,180. Certificates of compliance, $850, and zoning hearings, $300. There were 33 permits generated with $5,815 in revenue generated. And that's it for reports.
Thank you. For my report, I'd like to update everybody, the board and all the people, of course, about the situation for North County Water District. Pretty much everyone does know by now that in the beginning of the year, very beginning of the year, I had a meeting with the county executive, and he invited me and challenged me actually, to think about the North County Water District in a little more productive way, in a little more creative way, to see if the village can be part of that effort. Now, as everybody knows, last year the village paid $150,000, 2 years ago actually, $150,000 in order to get a report, to get a study, to see what the situation with the reservoir, the spillway, the dam was, and to actually make a comparison between which one was more sensible to us, to go with the North County Water District and decommission our reservoir, or to stay by ourselves and fix everything. And that report came back. We crunched some numbers. We made the presentation. The presentation was that really the village is much better by staying by itself. We fix everything. The rates are much better. And that was true. However, since then, a few things have changed. For example, a new hospital is coming to the area, which I want to be able to, for the village, to provide the water, to supply the water. Also, we have a new county executive. As I said, he was very much willing to work with me to see what other solutions were there. So I thought about all that, and we started discussing the possibility of the village being a supplier, which means that the village keeps the control of the rate to the village, to the people of the village and our customers, and we sell water to the district. I thought that makes perfect sense, actually, for us, for the district, for the area, for everyone, and I'm going to explain why. A few years ago, our plant was able to produce 1 million gallons more than we use right now, because we had the ConAgra company here. Well, why not sell it? We need the revenue. That's part one. Part two, part of the $150,000 study was to see the condition of our reservoir and the dam. We know what the condition is. We know we're going to need about $5.5 million to fix it. Well, now the Controller's Office knows too. They put out a report 2 weeks ago that our dam, the reservoir, is not unsafe, but how they call it? Unsound, exactly, which means we need work. And finally, it's not only that, the reservoir has the capacity to produce more water. If we dredge it, if we relocate the intake, we have the capacity to produce more water. That to me seems a very good idea of development, of producing more water, of being a part of an effort that is regional and also an effort that is going to attract people from outside our county. It's more than that. The city of Dunkirk currently has a 40-year contract with the North County Water District to be the sole supplier for that district. Maybe they can, maybe they cannot. If they cannot, or if there is a problem, who is going to step in if Fredonia is not part of this? I have the answer. The answer is Erie County Water Authority. They're ready, they're able, ready, and very much willing to do that. So, to me, that was not an attractive idea. Actually, it was the quote from one of the engineers at the time was, why spend $15 million to dredge your reservoir when you can spend this money to be part of the Erie County Water Authority? That was very worrisome to me, and I discussed it quite a few times with the county executive, even with the North County Water District Board. So what I'm saying overall is that I believe, and that's my proposal to the board and to the district, for Fredonia to be a part of the district, carefully done, with a good contract, because that's another positive from that thing is that as part of the district, we're going to be able to apply for federal grants. And this is the only way we can be able to dredge the reservoir and fix that problem. So, as I said, it's good for us for all these reasons. It's good for the district because the number 2 supplier of water is now going to be from the same water, from the same source. Not Erie Lake, but from our mountain. And it's good for the area because even if Dunkirk is able to supply the whole district, which is about close to 11 million gallons per day, even if they are able to do it, what is the new development? We're going to need more than 11 million gallons a day in order to attract more development. So for all these reasons, my proposal is that Fredonia is a part of the North County Water District as a supplier. The last meeting was with the Erie County Water, with the North County Water District Board, and they have requested a meeting with our board, with the City Council, and their board. So if our board is willing, that's what I am proposing, and that is my report for today. Rick, do you have any report?
No, just on the tractor that we lost. I got a call from the insurance company. Unfortunately, we spent to replace it $58,550. The thing was only insured for, the tractor we lost was insured for $5,500. So
Oh, my.
the most we'll get back on that claim is $4,500. Still, it's better than nothing. And then just to give you a little breakdown of the hours spent over on Eagle Street, and I'm talking strictly overtime hours, not the hours during normal work periods. We have actual hours worked of 16, but we're paying for 32 overtime hours because the contract states that if they work 2 hours or more, they get paid for 4 hours. So they're working 2 hours and getting paid for 4 overtime hours. So just wanted to let you all know that.
What was the total again, 32?
Yeah,
So paid-
actual hours worked 16, and
Paid
then
out.
we paid out 32 hours. And that's it.
Okay.
Those are the 2 reports.
Trustee Barris,
I have no report.
Trustee Christina.
I don't have a report, I just have a question. Are we okay with, telling Fredonia Animal Hospital that we'd like to accept their donation? Do we need to do that, or is anybody not? I sent that email out. I don't have
Please
to proceed
accept
with
it.
doing
Yeah,
this,
it's
are
fine.
we okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, they wanted to, donate a dog waste station, so I can go ahead and tell them that we'll.
Do you need a
Do
resolution
you
for
need to do
that?
a resolution for that, or just, I don't know. No, yeah.
Really should have a vote to accept.
Okay, so we can
So
maybe do
next
that at the
meeting.
next meeting.
Next week, okay.
Now, if we decide to put it in Russell Joy Park, do we have to get approval from
The town?
the town?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay, very good, thank you. Trustee, Trustee Bates.
I have one little report. I don't even know if it's I guess it's a committee report. I had the pleasure of driving our trolley this past Saturday for the Italian Festival. I picked it up on Friday night, took it home, my son and I cleaned it, and we took it down Barrier Road and blew the spiders out of it, so we're ready to get it ready for the Italian Festival. And I had the pleasure of driving 42 passengers for about a 20-minute ride around our village for about 3 hours. I collected $31 in donations, which I'll gladly submit to you.
Great,
Um,
very good.
So in other words, people were happy to see it out and about, and I hope that we can utilize this piece of equipment more for our village.
I hope so too, it's great, very good, thank you.
And I got one other quick question, and I know we've kind of danced around it a little bit more. Our social media platforms have to be addressed. As a board, I know Kara and I are both on the website committee and trying to develop a website and try to update our website. But when it comes to our social media platforms that are used within the village, there's some concerning aspects to it, and I've touched a little bit with Dan. And I think from maybe today forward, we should probably discuss something, either a committee or putting together Kara, myself, and the attorney to sit down and draft some sort of protective policies
I think that's
on
a
our
good
social
idea.
media.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good idea.
It was a seminar I attended back in May of last year, May of this year, and I brought Dan back some information that he and I can work hard and try to develop. But I think this is something we should not keep putting off.
No, absolutely. So if you want to work with Kara and then
Yeah,
that'd be.
and I'd like to, possibly have something drawn up by next meeting so that we can get this policy in place. Is that something that we
Well,
can
it is
work in the
for
next couple of
discussion.
weeks?
thing, we also we probably want to plan a little more time on that. I'd also like to bring Brad in,
Okay.
because there's a lot of law enforcement aspects to this, especially about things that we want to say, can say, shouldn't be saying. You know, that's a big part of what he does,
Right.
so.
You know, and I don't want to suspend our social media platforms until we get this done, but I just want people to be aware of some of the situations that could arise by having multi-platforms in the village that don't have policies in place. I just want to make everyone aware of that.
Would you think of suspending or shutting down the Facebook pages of these different departments at the moment until we get something?
How can we do that?
I think bottom line is it's been going on, not that it should continue, and I think we want to work together and get this
Okay,
done
so
quickly, but it's been
don't
going
mess
on
us
the
up.
way it is. Taking stuff down at this point creates its own problems, because you get issues with things that are posted up there, some of it needs to stay.
And I
So you
agree,
can run
and that's
into
why,
problems
yeah,
that way, too.
right, I agree.
So, yeah, I would leave it alone. Let's see if we can't get a policy together soon.
Okay.
Okay.
That's wasn't really a report, but I did want to report it.
No, that's good, thank you. Trustee Essig?
Yeah, concerning the North County Water District, I can't speak for the entire board, but as for myself, I'm be absolutely willing to sit down with the North County Water District and the city of Dunkirk to discuss possibilities. That's where we need to go. We need to move forward. I don't know where we are with the town of Pomfret fire contract, but we should probably be looking at
We
that
should
sooner
look
than
for that
later,
too, yes.
because we seem to be reactive at the last minute, and we run into many problems, so if that
Yes.
could be started shortly.
Yes, and I have it in mind, yes, thank you.
Just a real quick comment on the deputy mayor. I do think it was based on a need of when you aren't here, Mayor, and in cases of problems. So I think qualifications also would make a difference too, in addition to seniority, and not necessarily party affiliation. I don't think that's proper at all.
Thank you.
So,
Go to correspondence. Correspondence was received from David Dengler, President of the Fredonia Chamber of Commerce, requesting the use of West Barker Common and to suspend the open container law during the Music in the Park, Wednesday, July the 27th, 2018, and Wednesday, August the 22nd, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Whereas the request from the Fredonia Chamber of Commerce to use Barker Common during the Music in the Park is actually Wednesday, July 25th, 2018, and Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. is hereby approved as follows. 1, bag parking meters, no parking on Park Street, starting at 5:30, allow food sales provided by a chamber member restaurant of the chamber's choosing. 3, allow for face painting and for a balloon artist to provide activities for the children within West Barker Common. Now therefore be it resolved, the request is hereby approved with the stipulation that the group will be responsible for cleanup and is subject to the direction of the police department in the village receiving a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million named the village and the additional insured. And the suspension of the open container law has not been determined at this time, so they will not be that.
I second that motion.
Trustee Barris.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden. Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essig.
Yes.
Now is the public portion. If anyone from the public wants to address the board, please do so now.
Yeah, I had two things I wanted to mention. One was, I wanted to comment on the deputy mayor position. I was glad to see they made a change. I didn't get, by the way, Dan, that last draft until you sent that to me.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't realize that you had made that change.
Yeah, the first one, Sam, like I explained to the board, the first one, again, we were talking about hurrying, and basically that was brought up at 12:30, and I'm on my way back and trying to do it in the car, and And so I had my notes all spaced out from my research, but I just left off a paragraph. And thankfully Doug brought that to my attention.
The issue with the deputy mayor is one that I encountered every once in a while between the charter and the village law. And Dan, it's a difficult thing at times to reconcile the village law with the village charter. Generally, the village charter supersedes any inconsistent provisions of the village law. So that's why I was glad to see the change that you made, Dan. That's, in my mind, that last paragraph is in keeping with the charter of the village. So that, I guess, is on the agenda for tonight. Okay. Yeah, like I said, dealing with the charter sometimes can be difficult, trying to mesh that with the village law. But generally, and I'm not trying to give a course in charter versus village law, but generally the village charter trumps the village law. So we look at our charter, which is our constitution, and we look to see what that says first. And that's what you did, Dan. I see that. So, thank you. The second thing is, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the village has held caucuses and closed-door sessions with the press not available or the public is left out. Am I correct on that?
You're correct, yes.
Yeah. I would discourage that. It may be legal to have a caucus under certain situations, but because it's legal doesn't make it right. It denies the public the right to attend those meetings, to hear what their government is doing. It keeps the press and news media out. It keeps 2 trustees out. It keeps the village administrator, who's a valuable source of information and background and continuity, from attending the meeting. So this is not good government. We should have transparency. You shouldn't be using caucuses as a means to close the doors to the news media and to the public.
That's
So-
not why we're doing that.
Pardon?
That's not why we're doing that, so please don't assign to us things that we're not doing. With all due respect, the open meetings law contains caucuses inside it.
I understand that.
And the only provision for that is that if the whole government is part of the same party, then the caucuses are not encouraged because they are meetings, probably. But we have every right to strategize. Not only because otherwise you give the right to strategizing only to the minority, and that's not right. We do not take decisions, do not make decisions. Elections are coming. We are perfectly legal to do that.
Madam Mayor, it may be legal. It doesn't make it right. The public has a right to be at those meetings unless you're talking about candidates for an election or something that's definitely
You don't know that,
caucus,
do you?
But we don't know.
That's right.
I understand that you're talking public business, government business in these caucuses.
Even
And you should
so,
avoid that guise of a caucus to close the doors to the public.
is this a legal opinion? Is this a legal, I don't understand the way you are advising us.
What I'm telling you is, under certain circumstances, it is legal to have a caucus and close the
No,
doors.
it's legal anyway.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to do that. If you're going to conduct village business, you shouldn't use the guise of a caucus to close the doors to the public.
Mr. Drayo, if I want to hold a secret meeting, it would be much easier to go to Buffalo and have coffee someplace.
You're
I am
you're
doing
a
it.
secret meeting right here in the village hall.
I am doing it in the village hall, inside my office, so people know, yes, I am holding a caucus. This is a perfectly acceptable situation. If the public has problem with that, that's fine. I understand. I understand you do have a problem with that. But I am not doing anything improper or illegal.
You're denying the public the right to know what its government is doing.
Please.
Sam, with all respect, I'm telling you that, I still have a couple of boards under my belt, and I'm telling you right now, there's always, and I'm sure from all the boards you dealt with, there's always a desire to have, quiet conversations. Some of the boards, go way out of their way and think that leaving the county can help, and some of them try phone conversations and all the rest of this stuff. I have not seen, personally, anything that this administration has done in terms of the caucus that I felt was inappropriate, or that it was taking it too far. As far as I'm aware, no village business was conducted in a caucus setting. That would be improper, obviously, under the open meetings law. And I think that it's, without having actually been in the room with the caucus, I think maybe it's an unfair shot to say that it's unfair to the residents of the village of Fredonia that this administration chooses to exercise what is a legal caucus meeting.
What I'm saying is it may be legal, and I want to emphasize this, but they're discussing public business, government business, and policies. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. That should be open to the public, and you shouldn't use a caucus as a guise
But again,
to
Sam, I
avoid
don't
the
think you
public
can.
being in there, even if it's legal.
But I don't think it's fair to say that these caucuses are used as a red herring or guise for conducting village business without the open meetings law, until you have something that is an indication of that.
But you, Dan, you said you weren't at these meetings.
No,
So
I'm
you
the
don't-
wrong party, Sam, so are you.
And I wasn't at them either.
Yeah.
But I don't see any political candidates up for office that are being talked about. I have to assume, and I have no reason not to have any difference of opinion, that they're discussing public business under the guise of a caucus is legal. But they shouldn't do it. It's not good policy, that's what I'm saying. It should be avoided.
But my problem is that at this point, you're choosing to accept half of the law and leave the other half out. This is not the way. If you disagree with the law involving the caucuses, there is a democratic way to do it, because that gives way to everyone who doesn't agree with the whole law, but agrees with part of the law, to not obey the whole law.
Yeah, I think you're missing the point, Mayor. The point is
No, I
you're closing
understand
the
your
doors to
point.
the public
I
under the
understand.
guise of a caucus.
But this is part of the open meetings law. I'm not doing anything that is not there.
I didn't say it was illegal. I'm saying it's bad policy. There's a difference.
Thank you.
Let's move on.
I don't understand it, but anyways, that's, an attorney is going to tell me that half of the law goes against the spirit of the whole law. I don't understand that,
I
but,
don't understand what you're saying.
okay, well, thank you very much. Let's go forward. Good resolution. Oh, anybody else from the public? Okay. Mr. Essex?
Be it resolved that the attached resolution authorizing the issuance of $80,000 in bonds of the Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay the cost of the purchase of 2 cardiac monitors for the Fredonia Fire Department in and for said village is hereby approved.
Second?
Trustee Barris?
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Essex?
Yes. Be it resolved that the attached resolution authorizing the issuance of $59,000 in bonds of the Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay the cost of the purchase of new radios for the fire department in and for said village is hereby approved.
I'll second that.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Essex?
Yes.
Be it resolved that Jacob Christopher, King Street, Dunkirk, is hereby hired as a seasonal laborer to work with the Department of Public Works at the state minimum hourly rate, currently at $10.40, effectively July 10th, 2018, subject to civil service rules and regulations, and with no other benefits to be given.
I second.
Trustee
I vote
Barnes?
aye.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Essex?
Yes.
Be it resolved at the request of Jim Gugino on behalf of the FHS class of 1958 to use the village trolley July 20th, 2018, from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. is hereby approved, subject to the class of 1958, providing the village with an insurance certificate, naming the village as an additionally insured in the amount of $1 million. That the class of 1958 will provide a certified driver for the trolley, as well as adhere to the occupancy loading for the trolley, and the village receiving a $100 fee for the use of the trolley.
I'll second that motion.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Whereas the mayor is empowered by the New York State Village Law, Section 4-400, subsection H, to, quotes, appoint one of the trustees as deputy mayor at the annual meeting, who during the absence or inability of the mayor is vested with all the powers and may perform all duties of the mayor, end quote. And whereas the charter of the Village of Fredonia, Section 14, parentheses 1, close parentheses, empowers the board, quotes, to appoint from time to time one of their number to preside at any meeting of the electors of said village, or of the trustees thereof, when the mayor shall be absent, end quotes. Whereas no such appointment was previously made at the village's 2018 annual meeting, and whereas the position of deputy mayor is necessary to provide continuity of leadership in periods of the mayor's unavailability. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Trustee James Linden is hereby appointed to the position of deputy mayor for the 2018 calendar year.
I second that.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
You have to abstain.
I have to abstain, yes.
Trustee Briggs.
No.
Trustee Essek.
No.
Okay, and I suppose I have to break the tie, which is not what I want to do, but that's my responsibility. So I vote yes. Anything else? All right, so we'll go to executive session again.
I hereby make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss employment history of a specific employee.
I second that motion.
Trustee Barnes?
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Thank you.